Let's talk a little bit about familiarity. Familiarity is your enemy. Why? Because it is what can really hold you back from achieving your goals. It can hold you back from getting more money. It can hold you back from finding a soulmate. It can hold you back from even getting healthy. Familiarity is something that we as humans have clinged onto, clung onto for millennia. I'll tell you a little bit about why before we get going. So, if you think back to cavemen times, hopefully none of you can remember that. If you think back to cavemen times, we were basically safer if we stayed in our tribe. So that meant that we had strength in numbers, the women would stay together and look after the children, the men going out to hunt in their groups, because it meant that there was always somebody there to look out for everybody else. It meant that if there was a saber-toothed tiger coming to attack the community, the alarm would be raised and everybody would be much safer. And if you are outcast from your tribe in those times, and actually even going up to modern history, when we think about the Victorian era, and even a little bit further, when if women got divorced, they were left with nothing before we had a welfare state, still the case in some countries on the planet. Basically, being outcast from our tribe meant certain death back in those times. Perhaps not in the Victorian era, but it definitely meant poverty, and it definitely meant a life of a lesser quality than we've been used to. Let's go back to cavemen, when we basically had evolved into the humanoids that we are now. That familiarity of being in a group, that familiarity of always being on the lookout for something, always looking around the corner looking for danger, that familiarity kept us alive. That familiarity kept us safe. It meant that we were on high alert most of the time, because back then life was deadly. Fast forward to now, life's not deadly anymore. Not where we live anyway. Definitely not where I live. Life is, let's not say easy, because for a lot of people it isn't easy, but if you are outcast by your tribe now, if you fail at something that you're trying to achieve, if something doesn't go the way that you want it to go, if you step outside your front door and somebody insults you, you are not going to die. However, the familiarity of always doing something the same way, the familiarity of staying in a relationship because the alternative would be being on your own, the familiarity of staying in the job that you hate because of the fear of breaking out into something else, the fear that you won't be able to pay your bills, the fear that you won't like the job that you're going to. It's that familiarity that you know is much more comfortable than the fear of breaking out of that, which it can keep you from achieving your goals. It's really common in relationships. So in a lot of relationships, I know from personal experience, I've stayed in relationships because the alternatives seemed too scary to comprehend, and those relationships weren't great. They weren't even good. They were okay. I wasn't abused or anything like that, but I wasn't happy. But stepping out of that relationship to be a single person after so many years felt way too scary. It happened in the end, and thank God that it did. But it was that familiarity that kept me there. I've stayed in jobs for numbers of years because it was easy. It was boring. It was the same repetitive thing day after day after day, with the same people, with the same problems coming to me and getting me to fix them. And I hated it. But I kept doing it because why? Because it was familiar, because it was something that I was comfortable with, because I knew what to expect. And it's that familiarity that you need to break out of. So how do you break out of it? Well, we're back to that repetition. If you watch my other videos, you already know that I say quite a lot that repetition is something that's going to bring you forward. So if you want more money in your life, then you need to convince your subconscious mind that you are already wealthy. Now that seems like a huge ask, and believe me, I'm working on it too. But by telling yourself, repeating to yourself all the time, 10 times a day for at least 66 days, eventually you're going to kick in that neuroplasticity, and your subconscious is going to start believing it. Now you might think, or you might say to yourself, well, how is that going to make me wealthy? But this is the thing about, we've talked before also about quantum mechanics and quantum physics is that when you believe something, you're putting out a certain energy into the world. There's a certain way that you conduct yourself. You have conversations that perhaps you wouldn't normally have. You go looking for things on the internet that you perhaps normally wouldn't. YouTube things pop up that before they would have popped up before, but before they wouldn't have caught your eye in the same way that they do when you're in that kind of that momentum of, yes, I am already wealthy. I've already found the love of my life. I've already met the person of my dreams. I've already found my dream job, because it's being in that frame of mind which allows you to see different things. It's not that it's magically going to fall from the skies. We know that that doesn't work. That's just ridiculous. But it is about positive inspiration. It's about having those inspirations to go and have the conversations that you normally wouldn't have. It's like being inspired to go looking for example, recurring revenue ideas. It's about noticing the ads that pop up on Instagram that come up all the time that we notice. It's about noticing the videos that we see on YouTube that normally we just wouldn't pay attention to. Because by convincing your subconscious mind, by getting that neuroplasticity kicked in, that you're in that different energy, you're in that different frame of mind. And by doing that, you're breaking that familiarity curse. You are overcoming the fear that is ingrained in you. It's not your fault. It's not your fault. It's the caveman you trying to keep you safe from a saber-toothed tiger that doesn't even exist in our modern age. If you're watching this in India, that might be a problem, but from my office in northern Germany, it's definitely not a problem. Although we do have wolves, but they don't come in the village. Anyway, breaking through that pattern of familiarity is what can bring you forward. So look at what it is in your life that you don't have at the moment, which you would like to have. And for most of us, we've got to say it's abundance and wealth. Why? We'll save that for another video. But if that's what you want, tell yourself repeatedly every day, I am wealthy, I am wealthy, I am wealthy. Do the things that wealthy people do. Now that could be as little as showering every day, making yourself look nice every day, decluttering your home so that it looks like you've had a cleaner in to do it every day. These little things. Live as if you are wealthy, even if you don't have the money. Because it's the little things like that, your subconscious mind says, oh, you know what? You deserve that. And it's by convincing your subconscious mind, building those new neural pathways, as we said, that breaks that pattern of familiarity and takes you forward in your goals. So that's today's video. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button so that we can get this video out to more metalheads to live a happier and more abundant life. And tell me in the comments below what you think. Have a great day.